My name is Michael Antonson. I'm 39. I was diagnosed with a rare form of stage 4 melanoma when I was 35. As far as I know, I'm in remission. I was in the hospital for about 2 months, and what led up to that was about 2 months prior. So in the span of about 2 months, I started to feel super tired, which is really rare for me because I still am into fitness, but I used to be like a gym nut. I would work out an hour and a half a day, 6 days a week, and I was about 177 pounds. I was in shape. I was benching 220. I loved the gym. My coworkers were gym nuts. They would push me, motivate me. And around February 2019, I started to feel really tired. So we started prepping for our PT test, and I couldn't run very far. So the requirement is a mile and a half in a certain amount of time. And I started to feel very tired, low energy, and I didn't think anything was wrong. I thought maybe I was just getting older. I don't know, 35, approaching 40, but I was in shape. I felt great. So I was like, no, maybe I'm just getting older. I'll just push it harder. And I started to sweat a lot. At night, I started to sweat a lot, and I would go through 2 or 3 shirts a night. And I'm like, okay, I don't feel sick. It was really weird. It's not like you're getting a cold or you're getting a flu. I didn't have any fevers or anything, but I was just sweating a lot. So for another couple of weeks, I would get my blood checked, and I would work out harder, thinking I could just push through it. I finally went to the urgent care because I started to get fevers, and I knew something's wrong. When your body starts to get fevers, I feel like, it's obviously fighting something it doesn't like. So I went to the urgent care and got some antibiotics because they said I have pneumonia. And they took a scan. They were able to take just kind of a general scan of my chest and abdomen. And sure enough, he showed me the scan, and there was something on my right lung. I didn't even think cancer. He said it was pneumonia. So I was like, well, that's weird. I've never gotten pneumonia before, but okay. So he gave me some antibiotics. He goes, try these for about a week, and then we'll reassess. So about 3 days went by, and I remember I was home alone, and I got a call from his office. We want to rule out cancer. And for anybody that gets that type of call, you don't even know what to think. You're like, okay, this is really weird because I'm in shape. I've always been healthy. The blood work looks good. Like, you don't even think cancer. So when you hear that word cancer, it changes things. And I sat there for a good 20-30 minutes, just kind of by myself in the dining room, thinking, okay, let's not think the worst. Let's not Google this stuff. Let's just let's move forward and figure out what's going on here. Because the antibiotics weren't working. I was feeling worse. So I got with my primary care, and he gave me some more antibiotics that he wanted to try. So another 3 or 4 days went by, and now I was feeling even worse. I was barely able to get out of bed. I couldn't work out at all. And my wife kept telling me, you need to go to the hospital, So finally I did. I should have went earlier, but I finally went. I was sweating like crazy. I remember on the drive to Riverside Hospital, to the emergency room, I was just drenched in sweat. And I knew something was wrong, but I wasn't thinking it was cancer. I just thought, oh, this is a really bad case of pneumonia, because I've heard pneumonia is bad. I got admitted, and then a few days after that, the doctor came in. I mean, they were doing more blood work, they were doing scans, they were doing everything to find out what was wrong with me. And he goes, we found a mass. So if I didn't get pneumonia, I never would have thought I had any lesions or cancer or anything. And the doctor came in, just kind of held my hand and explained that they want to do more tests, more scans, find out if it spread to the brain. I'm a fighter, I could fight this. And I think my first question was, how do we beat it? And he goes, I like that attitude. He goes, but we're going to do more scans, we're going to do more blood work, and we'll keep you posted. Stay positive, you're young, you're in shape, it'll be okay. And I remember that. So he left, and my wife was on her way, and I was about to call her, but I wanted to wait till she got there. So she got there, super supportive. I think from that day on, she was there every day, the whole time I was in the hospital. They started doing more tests, more scans, everything from head to toe. And the doctor came in and told me, it was actually a nurse, and I think she didn't mean to tell me. She thought maybe I already knew, but she told me that I had 6 more lesions. It wasn't in the brain. thank goodness, but I had 6 more spread out through my abdomen. The lesions were not as big as the one on my lung. My right lung had a massive lesion on it. They're also concerned that it was obviously spreading. So I know I had lesions on my spine, spleen, liver. It just kind of spread everywhere. That's the third moment I remember. So the moment when I was in my dining room, the moment when I was in the hospital bed when the doctor came in, initially told me I had a mass. And in that moment, the 3 moments I'll remember for the rest of my life that just hit you. And Riverside Hospital is more, I guess that hospital focuses more on the heart, not necessarily cancer. So even though they have oncologists there, they were working day and night trying to find out what exactly I had, how I got it, because it was spreading internally. So I didn't have any signs on my skin about melanoma. I mean, I'm fair skin, I have some like marks and stuff, and they looked at my whole body and they're like, there's really nothing that can, no signs that it was actually like melanoma. Because they asked me all kinds of questions about what could have caused it. In the service, I deployed twice, and my job required me to work outside up to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. So when you're deployed for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and you're outside that much, and the military, they give you protective equipment, but they don't give you sunscreen, sunblock. So you have to try to remember to buy that stuff on your own. Well, when you're out there, you don't think about that stuff. And again, we're all young and in shape, and you think you're immune to everything, and you're not. And we also worked around burn pits in Kandahar. So I think with all that going on, they think that's what most likely caused it. All the signs lead to that. So that's what they think it was. But again, they couldn't really determine why I had melanoma internally. So they sent me to City of Hope after 2 weeks. So I was admitted to City of Hope mid-April. And then from there, things started to progress. They diagnosed us stage 4 melanoma. So they started treatment around May. They also started radiation. So I had 12 sessions of radiation. And I have abrasions on my back from that. And I would just lay there. And at that point, I was 120 pounds. So when you're all bone and you're laying on a hard, flat surface, it's just painful. At that point, everything hurt. Everything just hurt. So I remember I couldn't sleep. I had to fast a lot for bronchoscopies. I had many bronchoscopies, a few biopsies. They were just doing everything they can to find out what was going on, what caused it, how to prevent it from spreading, how to stop it, all at once. And I wasn't eating. I was on fluids, antibiotics, IV, everything all at once with no food. And my body has a fast metabolism, so it was just eating itself up. I was 177 pounds of just muscle that was eating all the muscle up. And the doctors were telling me that the body likes to eat muscle, and then it'll attack the fat. I didn't really have any fat, so I was just eating all the muscle up. And after 5 weeks, now we're looking at, I think it was beginning of May when things started to get better, because I got admitted to ICU end of April. So ICU for 3 weeks during that 2-month time. I don't remember 90% of that. I do remember my wife was crying. The doctors were saying, basically telling her like, prep yourself because it's not looking good. And I remember doctors would try to talk to me and I couldn't focus. I couldn't like grasp what was going on. I couldn't concentrate. I was just laying there basically just hoping that things would turn around. And I remember one doctor came to me and said, basically telling me to start prepping myself, talk to your family and friends as much as you can right now. And I remember thinking in my head, no, I'm good. I'm gonna fight this and beat this. I remember thinking that. I just kind of laid there and looking at her like, I'm good, I got this. And I never thought I was gonna die. Even when they told me, even those 3 times when I got the call, when the doctor told me about the lesion on my lung, and when the nurse told me I had 6 more lesions. Every single time they told me that, I thought, how do I beat this? And then things started to just flip. I remember I started feeling better. I was able to sit up. I was able to start taking in like soft foods. It was just out of the blue, I started to feel better. And I remember asking the nurses, can I get some weights or some resistance bands? And they looked at me like I was crazy. They're like, we've never had a patient ask that before. I don't even know if we have that here. So sure enough, they hooked up this thing behind my bed where I could take resistance bands, start doing exercises. And they were looking at me like, this guy's amazing. Doctors would come in just to talk to me and see how I was doing. And they're like, a couple doctors called me a miracle. They're like, you're a miracle. I went 180. I started to feel better. Everything was working. The smaller lesions were starting to get under control. I started to get on immunotherapy. They did have me on chemo for about a week. I lost hair, all my hair. But after about a week, my doctor, Dr. Kim Margolin, she came into the picture and she basically saved my life. She was very to the point, which I didn't really care for at first. Like, she was very this is how it is. She didn't seem like she was sugarcoating anything. And at first I didn't care for that too much, because it was like, you know, I want more positive stuff, but she was to the point. She was business. She was like, I liked her attitude about that. And I'll follow her wherever she goes. We started at City of Hope, and now we're at St. John's. I'll follow her wherever she goes. She saved my life, and ever since then, she flew in friends. She told me she flew in friends from around the country to help, not only with me but other patients. But they would come in and they would like sit there and they would talk about, like, how can we fix this? How can we help him out? Because I mean, he's doing so much better than he was a week ago. And then I started to get physical therapy because I couldn't even sit up. I had to retrain my whole body, all the muscles, just to sit up. Finally, to stand. I took days just to stand. And then finally to walk. It was just weird to go from 2 hours in the gym to walking, learning how to walk. And so I started to finally just to walk, just to get up, felt great. And then they started talking about being discharged. And I was just like, this is amazing. I went from almost essentially dying to 4 weeks later, talk about going home. I did want to say one thing that got me through all that, one thing that pushed me. I'm very spiritual. My walk with God is strong. That's something that really pushed me the whole time I was there. I leaned on my faith from day one. I still do. And there's nurses, a lot of nurses would come in and pray with me. And I'd pray every night. I'd watch videos on YouTube with pastors, and I did that every day the whole time I was there. That's something for me. I would say for those that are going through similar cases, similar situations, lean heavily on your faith. If you're not a religious person, not a spiritual person, I would suggest to maybe look into it. Just think about it. That's something that really helped me out. I think I inspired some people, because they would ask that a lot. Like, what's your push? What's your motivation? For me, that was my main motivation. She told me to go to the hospital way sooner than I went, and I should have listened to her. But when I was in the hospital, she was there every day, and she'd have to leave to go take care of the kids, organize babysitting, and she'd come back. She did that every day. She didn't miss one day I was there. She would push, even when there's moments that I would start to feel sad, depressed. Even me, she would be there to pick me up. And we're a team. I needed that. She's also into health, and I think she sees this. She saw how much health was important for me. And just anybody that can see somebody go through that, I think might motivate them and open up a little bit. So, and she's interested in the medical field now. My hobby is racing. I've always been into motorsports. So I started doing that about 8 years ago. I love it. It's an expensive hobby, but it's a lot of fun. I'm a Mustang guy, so I have 3 different Mustangs that 2 of them I race. When I got admitted into the hospital, all my car buddies were asking about me and stuff, and they would compete. There's a series that they compete in nationally. It's called Search for the Ultimate Street Car. And I do that every year. And I'd watch those guys in the hospital bed. There's all this stuff that I had desire to do. I wasn't going to let cancer, get the best of me. I've heard sad stories of people that aren't positive. They basically give up when they are diagnosed. That kills me. That pains me. If you stay positive and fight it, I mean, I met one patient. She she'd been fighting her cancer for years. And she's the most positive person in the world. She probably weighed 100 pounds. And she was just so happy. And I always remember her. And I always want to tell people what she told me is just to stay positive. Stay as positive as you can. Even if you have one day left, do you want to spend that day sad and depressed or happy? The car thing always motivated me. I wanted to get back into that. I wasn't done yet. I wanted to race so many more racetracks. And now I'm kind of getting back into it. And it's a blast. One thing that is different though is before, that stuff would not, you have to be pretty physically in shape to do that. And before it would never bug me. I could be out there for 20, 30 minutes. People don't know those NASCAR guys when they're out there for as long as they are, it's physically exhausting. But now I can't do that like I used to. I'm out there for a few laps. I gotta stop, take a breath, because my heart is always pumping faster. That's one thing now. My heart rate is always in the 90s, always 100. Before it was never that high, but now that's the new norm. I have new norms now, and that's one of them. One lung, so I have to pace myself. I'll go to the gym or I'll work out at home, and after about 40 minutes, I have to stop because I'll keep going. Mentally, I want to keep going, but my body's telling me, you're not where you used to be, even though you're doing better, So I have a lot of motivators. Don't focus so much on the cancer. Focus on the future. Focus on what motivates you, what you like to do. Live the lifestyle I had before, get back into racing, play with my kids, all that, and just keep fighting. Dr. Margolin is very focused, she's very determined. And I don't know, I found my trust in her quickly. And I wanted to know, how do I beat it? What do I got to do? And she told me, this is what we're going to do. The thing about her is, even if there's just something small, she wants to attack it and fix it now. I think when I came into the picture, she saw that there was just a lot, and it didn't seem to affect her. And I don't know if there's something about me that maybe gave her some motivation. I like to think so, but she gave me a lot of motivation. It took me a lot to go to a hospital. I would just try to fight through everything. But now I would say, go get checked as soon as possible. Talk to your doctor about your concerns, because if this was caught in you later, I might not have made it. And the fact that it was stage 4, if I wasn't in the condition I was in, my body wouldn't have gotten through it. And if I wasn't healthy, I think it would have been too weak to fight all that was going on.